Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. I've been working on converting one of the guest rooms in my parents' home into a half gym, and today I'm going to be installing a wall-mounted squat rack, and I'm going to show you how to do it. Let's get to it. This is the space that I'll be working with, and the squat rack will be going on this wall that you see here. These are all of the pieces that came with the specific item that I purchased. It is called the ProForm wall-mounted squat rack. Now, if you've watched my previous videos, this room is the one with the Murphy bed in it. So as the Murphy bed folds in, it will be turning into a gym. So it was very important for me to find a squat rack that also folded away so that this room could be used as a guest room as well. I will also include the link to this specific squat rack in the description below. So if you're interested, make sure to check that out. I built this squat rack a little bit differently than what the instructions suggested to do. The instructions say to attach the wall mount pieces first and then build the arms around that. But I was just a bit nervous about getting them in the right place, and just having to do that math was too difficult for me. So I decided to build it all first and then attach it to the wall. And you'll see how this kind of makes the installation a bit easier later on. The package for the squat rack does come with an Allen key to help you assemble all of the pieces, but I do recommend also getting a wrench. It's very useful in helping you tighten all of the screws. Once you have the arms built, it's time to attach them to the vertical stands. Everything you need is included. You'll be using these bolts and washers and nuts, as you can see here, to attach these pieces together. The arms and the vertical stands are also labeled right or left, so make sure to match the left arm with the left stand and the right arm with the right stand. Once I finished assembling everything, I did realize that I attached these bolts backwards. Now, this doesn't affect anything structurally, it is more aesthetic, so I left it. But if you care, I would recommend adding the screws in the other direction so that the bolts are on the same side as the arm. Once you have all of your pieces tightened, you should have two vertical stands that look like this. Make sure you keep note of which one is the left and which one is the right. Next step will be to attach the stringers, which will then be screwed into the studs of your wall. These are attached to the vertical stands with two screws for each side on the top and the bottom, as you can see here. I genuinely always try to do every project by myself, but I will warn that this part is definitely a two-person job. I would not have been able to do this without the help of someone else, so make sure you keep that in mind if you are working on this project yourself. Since the bottom stringer was a bit lower and went right over my baseboard, I had to go in and cut that out so that the stringer would be flush to the wall and make this easier to attach to my stud. Make sure to mark out where you're going to mount your squat rack to ensure that the holes in the stringer line up with at least 4 of the studs in your wall. Once you have your baseboard removed, you're going to get your stud finder and mark out where each stud starts and ends. This is really important because you want to drill your screws directly into the center of your stud for maximum support. Once I had everything marked out, I used a 5/16" drill bit to drill my pilot holes for the screws that were provided with the squat rack. Once you have all of your pilot holes drilled, I also purchased a 3/8" hex bit socket to help me drill in all of the screws. This just made everything go a lot faster and smoother. As I mentioned earlier, installing it this way did help reduce the amount of math I had to do to figure out where the stringers would go, but it also meant that I had to remove the vertical arms in order to attach the last screws into the studs. Another thing you want to keep in mind when installing the stringers is the placement of the arms. You want to make sure that it looks like this, with no space on the bottom and a little gap on the top. This is really important, so make sure the top and bottom stringer look exactly like this. This is really important because that little gap at the top gives the arms the space to move when opening and closing the squat rack. The last thing you need to attach is this Proform logo, and once you have that in, you're all done. Here's how the squat rack looks when it's completely open with weights on it. And here's how it looks when everything is folded away. I've used this squat rack a handful of times since I've installed it, and I have not had any issues since. I've tried to do a pull-up on the pull-up bar, squats with the weights as you can see here, and so far I am absolutely loving it. My favorite part about this squat rack is that you can take it all apart and it folds into itself, leaving so much space to convert this space back into a guest room when we have guests. And it also gives us so much space to work out when the Murphy bed is in the up position. I will leave all of the details and the tools that I used that weren't included with the squat rack in the description below, so make sure to check that out. Thank you so much for following along. Please follow and subscribe, and let me know in the comments if you have any questions that I didn't address throughout this video. Bye guys!